I'm so delighted to be here. It's a dream come true for me to be on this panel and to see so many of you here. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And you took everything I was going to say. Sorry. So I'm here. Okay. While I agree with so much of what's been said, including the fact that our PR at times really subtle, let's talk about how we reframe the conversation. How do we fix it? And exactly as Michael said, we need to reach that group in the middle. Our target audience should not be the people who hate us, nor should we focus so much on the people who love us, because they're already going to be engaged and they're going to be interested in what we're saying anyway, and they're even going to like the fact that when you have two Jews tweeting back and forth, there will be four opinions. And so that should not be our focus. Instead, we want the person in the middle who doesn't have a clue, who's not particularly swayed either way. It can go in either direction. And in many countries, that's a huge number. I just gave a talk actually a few hours ago, and I was looking at a graph about this. In Russia, for example, there are 70% of Russia doesn't care about Israel. They don't dislike Israel. They don't love Israel. That's an amazing number. That is a number that we should be focusing on. Who here can tweet Russian? Let's get on. We need someone to tweet Russian. Same with Peruvian, for example. That number is even higher. It's 80%. 80% of Peruvians don't care. We need to make them care. And the way to do that is to involve their feelings, involve their interests. Zahava, I'm sorry, I have to call you out on this. Zahava wrote a brilliant, beautiful, poignant blog post about her son, who wasn't particularly reachable during Operation Pillar of Defense. She wrote about it so magnificently that, frankly, anybody, even someone who's anti-Israel, couldn't possibly read it without feeling that twist in the gut, that sense of recognition. Oh my God, this is a human moment. This is a moment that we can all identify with, understand, and want to share. And that empathy, that's where we need to be. Along with empathy, humor. This guy, fantastic example of what to do. Turning challenging situations, turning a daily reality situation into something that's flipped on its head and a little bit, maybe we can use a little bit obscene, not that I would know anything about that. Mildly problematic, that gets people interested, that gets people turned on. So that's where we should be. That's, and again, engaging in things, writing about things, whether it's a blog, whether it's a tweet, which I swear is like a new version of Mingle 2.0 or whatever, whether we're on Facebook, telling these stories in a way that leave out the politics, leave out really many times that we reframe the conflict in a way that others can relate, identify, and then start to understand Israel from a position of empathy. And I think that's my hope. That's what I really aim to do. That's what I see so many of us, certainly on this panel, doing. So many of you are already doing that. We need more of it. And I think that's what I hope we will continue to do in the next few years.
Thank you. Thank you. So close to, it's almost 2 years already since Ilana and I first had a conversation about the goal of the Israel Forever Foundation and what she was trying to accomplish. And when she looked at me and said, I'm so tired of the conversation being about politics and about the conflict and about, you know, God forbid, Israel being a war zone. I want to focus people on what's good and right about Israel. I want to help people all around the world connect to what is good about Israel and why Israel is important. And like I was like signing up immediately. I need to help you. I need to work with you on this. And so what I want to now pose to the panel is how can we, the larger we, the global we, how can we encourage people to focus less on the conflict? Because I will tell you, several people on the delegation this week have been telling me that they're shocked that we're not ducking from the incoming missiles, that they're shocked that Iron Dome hasn't gone off since we're here, that they thought bullets would be flying. And like I said, many of these people are Middle East experts, okay? And this is what they thought. So my question to you now, and I'll ask you one at a time, but how can we get people to focus less on the conflict and the differences of ideology and things that the mainstream media loves to report on, and more on the meaningfulness of Israel and the individual and collective Jewish identity in Israel. So, Michael, can I start with you?
I think we get sick of that, especially with Israeli audiences. When I speak to Israelis, I'm always mindful to remind them that what is prominent on their mind about the conflict is not necessarily on anyone else's mind. So I hear what you're saying about your group coming. I think generally, and I've been in a position where I've hosted many international visitors from all over the world to Israel. And they generally do come with that kind of preconception of there is going to be some kind of conflict that I'll get involved in, and they generally have relatives saying, they shouldn't come. By the way, Macy Gray, when she came to Israel and the BDS guys didn't manage to get her to boycott coming to Israel, she got a phone call from her mom because she got threats that she would be in danger, physical danger, if she didn't come. That was the secondary tactic, and you can see why there would be a kind of fertile ground for her to believe that because of this conception of, we are what is in that 2 minutes and we'll use it. So I try to remind Israelis that the truth is, although people come to Israel with sometimes a sense of trepidation, it doesn't mean necessarily that all they want to hear about is conflict. Far from it. And when we're looking to itineraries of international groups that we're bringing here, people say, well, why don't you have them, meetings with these victims of terror? Why don't you have them go to they have to go to Sderot, they have to this and that. And you know what? Sometimes the groups that really do need to do that, political groups really need to see the political reality because they're making political decisions, often, like you say, based on knowledge that they don't have. I was once, not trying to name joke at all, I was once with a former head of the MI5, the Secret Service in the UK. And we're sitting in the King David with a political delegation, and we had time to kill the itinerary for all right. And I had Israel Martin from Palestinian Media Watch present to them. Why? Because that was a political group that needed to make political decisions and needed some kind of knowledge of what was going on in the Palestinian Authority. And they had no knowledge whatsoever of anything that he showed them. So they were surprised by that. For me, that was a shock. But most groups, when we bring over food bloggers and when we bring over, this summer when we listen to YouTube bedroom superstars and they suggest Justin Bieber's coming into Israel, they don't need to see the conflict, and they don't really care much for the conflict. But here's the important thing. And again, this is what I tell our Israeli students who are part of our program. It's not about Israel. If you put an I at the end of the Israel, you get Israeli. No one really attaches that much to a country, but you do attach. And that, for me, is what it's all about. Have the people tell the story. If conflict is part of that, then that's great and let it come across. But people connect to people, and people relate to a whole range of different things. And the conflict does not have to be one.
Thank you. Sarah, can you tell us what you think? How can we focus people away from the conflict? If you think we should, and focus more on what's special?
I think certainly when there's conflict to be talking about, and there actually is more activity than usual, and of course that's going to be part of the conversation on social media. But I think what we should continue to do, and many of us do it, Benji especially is a shining example of this. He, using humor to document daily life experiences that happen in Israel. Or even this is the second time. Thankfully, no.
Laura?
You know what's funny? He's getting this. Using humor, finding those delicate moments that we almost take for granted. Thank God we don't, because that's why we stay when things get hard. But actually identifying those delicate moments when they happen. This makes a great, poignant story. Could you please speak louder? Yes. Okay. Is that better? Loud. Okay. So finding those sweet moments, the human moments between people, whether it be human moments between Jewish people or a Jewish person and a Muslim person or a Christian person, whatever. Just write it down. I don't care if you can write or not. If you can just convey the emotion, even in a status message or in 140 characters or less, there you go. reframe the narrative. You're bringing Israel. You're bringing them holding I'm sorry, it's so pretend. Okay. No, but the sad thing is I couldn't even remember the word Hebrew either. You're bringing a magnifying glass onto this country in a good way. And that's something I try to do, and it's something that I, again, encourage all of you to do, because it helps take the focus off of this nebulous conflict, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't, and turns the reality of Israel into a reality that others can relate to and identify with.
Thank you. Thank you. Bente, can you share what you think?
Yeah. I don't really want you to get involved. One thing Sarah failed to mention, that she adds a statistic that's really important to mention. I read that 95% of Russians are very cold, so it's important to. Anyway.
Nice.
Nobody? Okay. If you put a Z and get Israel, you get Israel's. Okay. It's all the material. You know what? I'm gonna say something that's it's probably like more topicy than what people are suggesting. I can't believe that we don't use more video. It just occurred to me. I remember growing up, like the first time I came to Israel, I was 15 years old. And I came on my teen tour, and you go to the hotel, and you can't believe it, everything is new. They would take us blindfold us, and go off and see, we go to the Dead Sea. I mean, is there a single American Hebrew school kid who's not seen all this stuff before? Like, I just wonder if every Hebrew school teacher in America, around the world, is just showing videos of Israel. It's like the most incredible medium and form of education that we never had access to. You can suddenly see, people dreamed of seeing the hotel for 2,000 years. Like, you can see it now in 5 minutes.
Their reaction is so what?
I don't know what the reaction is. I mean, that's on part of the educator to convey what the magic places is. But I mean, I've been telling people on my long list of things to do. I didn't want it to when I stopped blogging as much because I couldn't keep writing every day. For years, I'm thinking, why don't I create a blog? I mean, video blog. I think we all know the power of video. When, the right video can get, got rolling 1 million hits like that. I mean, that's, things go viral, people have more patience for video than they do text. All of us can get there. We want people to believe that this is not a war zone. We can all pull out our phones and, I guess we're all about video bloggers, but I just can't believe that we are not using video more, either, to show what real life is like here, when missiles are supposedly falling, to show the beach, to show Formula One, to show this amazing Google office. I saw everyone who was forwarding around. They said, why don't you turn the cell phone and walk around? I mean, there's just no matter how many op-eds you write, there's nothing with the power of video, both within Jewish communities to show kids, to get kids excited about, and adults to get excited about something they can see with their eyes. And also, if you believe this is a war zone, look, in dance clubs on the beach in Saudi, it's like we don't use it enough at all.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Oh, I'm sorry, everything he said, yes. And then, did you guys see the video on the Huffington Post about Lila the Gun?
Yeah.
It's fantastic. They use someone explain it better than I can, but they use a moon. They documented moon's travel throughout the night sky. They framed it in a way where it looks like it's being shot through a basketball, but anyway, but it's all in Israel, and that's something that's being shared right now on the media, and that's fantastic because it's Israel and it's not being bombed, and there's no Iron Dome, and it's Israelis having a good time. So I love what you said. Yes. Yeah.
I was thinking about what you had said before. When people think about Israel, or any place for that matter, when you think about a place that you have never been to, or you don't have much experience, you have a picture in your mind, and it's very, very hard to remove that image if you haven't been there. So, I mean, before I had ever been here, and I came when I was 17 for the first time, I really expected, I don't know why, I had seen pictures of Israel, I expected that people were riding around on camels and there were no traffic lights and it was a desert. That's what I imagined. And when my in-laws, before they had ever been here, and they were in their 60s and were very educated, watched the news, they imagined that there were tanks rolling around the street everywhere. And that was their image. Then they came here and they had a new image. I actually just came back from Greece. I imagined it was all going to look like Mamma Mia everywhere. And you know what? There was like graffiti in like cities and the slums, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look like what I expected. That's what happens. You have this expectation, and so I think number one is getting people here. Like, just, that's not social media. That's just, you got to get over here, get your butt here, and see it, and give them a tour. Make sure they have